don't you come to my place? I have an interesting video.
I've heard this story from a friend in elementary school, but I remembered it recently, so I'll write it down. My memory is hazy and maybe a little wrong. A certain man, let's call him Aito. Aito rented a video from a video rental store and went home to watch it right away. By the way, Aito lived on the second floor of the house. There was a greengrocer or something on the first floor. There was a staircase right next to the greengrocer, and the only way to go up to the second floor was from there. He set up the video and quickly fast-forwarded. But no matter how much time passed, there was no preview, and the screen was always tense. Thinking that something was wrong, he tried to take out the video, and suddenly, something started to appear. What was on the screen was just a staircase. However, Aito immediately realized that it was the staircase in his house and continued to watch the screen without knowing what was going on. Then, someone came up from the stairs on the screen. However, when he looked closely, he saw that only his face was blurred and he was holding a knife in one hand. He thought it was strange, but he couldn't really help but watch it. The person slowly came up and finally reached the front door. Then, all of a sudden, he started banging on the front door. At the same time, the front door of Aito's house started making a loud noise. He got scared and took out the video in a panic. Then the sound of the knocking on the door stopped. That's it. Maybe I wrote it a little poorly. Sorry for being bad at writing. When I first heard this story, I was really scared. When I was a university student, there was a frog-faced man in the same seminar class who was a bit of an outsider. He was from Okinawa, had a strong accent, and was always dressed in a dirty manner, so everyone avoided him. One day, after a seminar class, I was complaining about the afternoon lecture being cancelled, and he invited me, saying,
Well, why don't you come to my place? I have an interesting video.
He knew I was free after that, so I couldn't refuse, and I had no choice but to go to his lodgings. In his room, which was messy and had an indescribable stench, I was shown the video. The video begins with a young man in white briefs, tied to a pillar, screaming something. However, there is no sound, so I don't know what he is saying. By the way, it is a single shot of color footage, and sometimes the face is zoomed in. After a while, a man, presumably, wearing protective clothing and what appears to be a gas mask, appears from the left edge of the screen, carrying a cloth bag over his shoulder like Santa Claus. He then grabs a snake from the bag, shows it to the camera, and brings it close to the man in the white briefs, trying to get it to bite him. The man in the white briefs twists his body and desperately resists, and even without sound, you can hear him crying. The snake bites his shoulders, neck, and chest mercilessly, until the man in the white briefs loses control of his bladder, and then his neck dangles, as if he has lost consciousness. The man in the gas mask then approaches the screen again, makes an OK sign with his fingers, and the video ends, as he seems to be checking something. After the video, the frog-faced man pipes up,
That snake is a viper. Got it?
looking proud for some reason. My friend loves slasher and splatter movies, and often brags about how he has watched all the horror sections of his local video rental store. His hobby has led him to start browsing online video sharing sites that show videos of crimes and similar things. And whenever we meet on the weekends, he'll always talk about the amazing videos he's seen. One day, as he was surfing the internet as usual, he found a video of a Japanese train station. The thumbnail showed a platform before the train arrived, and since it was daylight around noon, he thought, this must be a video of a person jumping in front of a train. And when he played the video, sure enough, it was a video of a person jumping in front of a train. As he was filming an oncoming train, a businessman in a suit appeared. The train suddenly brakes, and the footage ends there, which is appropriate. But my friend thought, that's it? They don't show the tracks? I thought maybe they just accidentally filmed it and posted it. So I looked at the poster's profile page and saw that they had posted over 100 videos, all of which were thumbnails of stations. I played a few of them and they were all different videos of people jumping in front of the train. They were filming a train from the platform, and someone jumped in front of the train, and the video ended there. They were all different stations and different times, but they all had the same composition and angle. There are too many. It wasn't just a coincidence. It was the same person filming, I thought. Rather than filming the train, the camera was filming from the platform, and the camera followed the person jumping, so the footage ended with the train in it. And there's no way to know in advance that someone would jump from a platform onto the tracks, even if they were a train enthusiast. Who did this? How did they film it? For what purpose? This happened last year, and I received an email from a friend I hadn't seen in a while, Shunta. I got a pretty scary DVD. Do you want to come and take a look? This friend is a horror fanatic who buys ghost stories and snuff stuff through the mail order and the internet and shows it to me. I replied, okay, I'll bring a few people over this weekend. So 3 of us went to his house. When I asked him, so what kind of thing is on the DVD? He replied, it's about holding people captive and subjecting them to something like psychological torture. So take a look. I immediately played the video and was shown images that appeared to have been taken with a domestic camera, and a man in his early 30s tied to a chair. That was it. This continued on and on. We were amazed by how real it was. It wasn't any of the fake stuff we'd seen up until then. And I remember Shunta standing behind us, with his eyes glaring. After about 15 minutes, the image started to change. The man on the TV was extremely reluctant to watch, and was trying desperately not to look. And even though he was resisting, at some point he began to stare at something. His eyes were no longer those of a normal person. Then the man started to laugh out loud, yelling abuse and shaking his head. The changes in his facial expressions were not normal. They were changing at about 4 times the speed, and the things behind him were moving at a normal speed. But the man's head and above were moving at an abnormal speed and saying something. At the end, the person who was probably filming asked,
What's your name? Do you understand?
The man answered, Abiya Hihihi Okawa O2. But his voice and mouth didn't match at all. the cameraman replied.
Ah, this guy's no good.
And that was the end of the DVD. After watching the DVD, to be honest, we were feeling sick. Shunta was happily explaining things quickly, but to be honest, I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to see any more. So the three of us made eye contact and decided to go home. On the way home, in the car, my companion said, when Shunta was desperately explaining, his mouth movements were strange, just like in the video. Shunta went missing, and about 2 months later, he was found to have taken his own life, completely naked. After seeing that, we began to think that we might break down too. This happened more than 20 years ago. It was during the summer vacation in my early elementary school years. I was walking home with my older cousin who had come to visit during the summer vacation. We found 3 videotapes in a vacant lot on the way home. My cousin asked me to take them home for fun, and although I didn't want to, I couldn't resist and took them home. When we got home, and my parents were at work, we played one random video on the VCR in the living room, and it showed a woman in an alleyway taking off her clothes while looking at the camera. It was a standard recording, but the picture quality was quite poor, and it seemed to be a dubbed adult video. My cousin seemed to watch it, but I said that if it was too slow, my parents would come home, so I fast-forwarded to the end. Then I played another one, but it was some foreigner having sex in some place like the Alps, and we both got nauseous and took it out right away. So I put on the last one. At the beginning it showed what looked like a real-life creep on a crowded train, and the picture quality was even worse than the other 2. I was thinking that it was boring, but suddenly the image cut off. White noise appeared, and a child was shown, walking through a bamboo forest. I stopped, fast-forwarding. She looked like a girl who was still in elementary school. The surroundings were dim. The film was being taken from behind. The girl's footsteps were unsteady, like she was about to fall or stop. Each time an adult's hand reached out from the edge of the screen to support her or push her along. No one said a word. The film continued for about 10 minutes, and my cousin and I were wondering what it was. But for some reason, we just kept watching it. Eventually, the bamboo forest ended, and we came to a wide place. The sun was shining in. Near the center, a large hole had been dug. When the girl reached the edge, 2 hands pushed her back from behind and dropped her into the hole. A foot wearing jeans appeared and pushed the dirt into the hole. The girl didn't move during that time and let the dirt cover her back. Her face was turned to the side, but it was dark and we couldn't see clearly. We were staring at the screen in silence. Looking back, we may have been frozen in shock. Finally, the soil was buried up to the edge. A pair of feet carefully stamped on it. Seeing that, I suddenly felt that something was wrong. If this continued, things would be bad. I reached out and pressed the stop button, but the image did not disappear. Oh no, this is bad. I heard a faint voice. Then my cousin, who was sitting next to me, fell forward and approached the TV. The next moment, the image seemed to rotate. The sky was projected diagonally. And then, it disappeared. "Hurry up and take it out," I shouted. And my cousin tried to take out the tape, but it was tangled inside and could not be taken out. When I pulled it out by force, the tangled tape started to stretch out. While we were panicking, my father came home and asked what we were doing and cut the tape with scissors. After that, I threw the tape back in the vacant lot. It's not that scary, but I'll drop it here. It was back in the days of videotapes, before there were DVDs. When I was a college student, there was something like a video delivery service. They would send you porn videos by a motorcycle courier. When I came home from school, I would often find some shady flyers in my mailbox, and I couldn't resist my desire, so I ended up ordering one. I waited anxiously for the delivery, and the motorcycle courier finally arrived around 10 p.m. I paid the excessive amount of money, received the product, and immediately ran inside and inserted it into the deck. A black screen was shown for a while, with a slightly grainy image. There was no title, and suddenly a woman appeared. I was so surprised that I couldn't help but let out a yelp in a pathetic voice. The woman had straight hair and was a flashy woman from the bubble era. Despite her flashiness, she was expressionless, and she was staring at me from the screen, which I guess was her room. The story didn't progress at all, and even after watching for about 5 minutes, the woman just stared at me, as if she had paused. I got tired of this and started fast-forwarding the video. And then, I saw her mouth moving. I rewound the tape and played it again. Then after, she said, "This is the time 5 years ago." There was a strange noise. It was like a mix of incomprehensible noise and human voices, and the screen became distorted, and finally it turned into a static storm. I thought, what is this? Is it a defective product? Annoyed, I explained the situation to the dealer and asked them to exchange it for another tape. The dealer replied, "I understand," and hung up the phone. After that, no matter how long I waited, the dealer never came or contacted me. I was annoyed that I had been given a strange product, but I remembered the rumor that Yakuza are involved in selling these types of videos, so I never contacted the dealer again. I gave the video to a friend. After that, my friend called me and complained. "What? That's not an erotic video. It's just a building or apartment, and no one is in it." When I asked him, "That's weird. Did you rewind it properly?" He said, "Of course I rewound it properly, because I didn't want to know where you jerked off." In the end, my friend also gave the tape to another friend. That friend was also an acquaintance of mine, so I asked him about the contents of the tape, and he said, "A girl appeared and was lying naked on the sofa. That's all. It wasn't anything erotic at all. More like she was crying, and it was painful. It turned into a static storm within a minute. So I left it in the club room because it was creepy. I don't know what happened to the tape after that. My friend said it was gone from the club room, so someone must have taken it. Now we live in the DVD era, so no one plays tapes anymore. But I wonder if it's still out there somewhere. Maybe someone was watching it before it came to me. A different video from the one we saw. It's a creepy story that the content is different depending on who watches it. So between me and these two other friends, we call it the Wandering Tape, and still talk about it when we get together. By the way, there was no title sticker on the tape itself. Sorry it's not very scary, but it is a strange story. It's been almost 20 years since then. I graduated from college without doing much job hunting and moved to the Kanto region alone in search of work. Once I found a part-time job and was looking to make a living, I got hooked on a local TV program on a local station. I wasn't satisfied with just watching it, so I started recording the daily broadcasts on VHS and watching them over and over again. I got so hooked that I lent them to friends who lived in areas where the program couldn't be viewed and spread the word about it. The program was only 30 minutes long, but it was broadcast every weekday, Monday through Friday. After about a year of watching it, my room was piled with VHS recordings of the program. One day, when watching recorded programs had become a habit, I was watching a few days' worth of broadcasts that had been saved up for various reasons. I was doing something else and letting the VHS footage play endlessly, and about 2 hours had passed. I suddenly felt something was wrong and turned to the TV. I saw strange noise on the screen that hadn't been there before. Looking more closely, it was not so much noise as it was like an image of a channel that could not be received. There seemed to be something on that badly distorted image, but I couldn't make out what it was. There seemed to be audio, but the noise was so bad I couldn't hear it at all. Oh no, maybe I selected the wrong channel to record, I thought, as I pressed the fast forward button. After a while, the image cleared and the usual opening of the local program was displayed. I regretted missing a day's worth of broadcasts, but since I was able to record properly after that, I didn't think much of it, and after a few days I even forgot about it. At the end of the year, for the first time since I moved, I contacted my parents to tell them I was going home. I received some lucky information. My younger brother, who lives at home, seems to have installed a DVD recorder in his room. Apparently, the video deck he had been using until then is still in good condition, so if I connect the two, I can dub and edit VHS to DVD. I decided to pack up the large number of VHS tapes that I had accumulated in my room into cardboard boxes and ship them to my parents' house. I arrived safely at home, received the package that had already arrived, and immediately started dubbing in my brother's room. After checking the procedure while staring at the instruction manual, it seems that dubbing can only be done while playing the VHS video. In other words, it will take a full 2 hours to complete dubbing the video recorded on the 120-minute videotape. It will take a long time to dub all of the contents of the box that was shipped, but considering the storage space, it can't be helped. I started dubbing. However, even though 3 days had passed since I returned home and the New Year's holiday had passed, the dubbing work was progressing very slowly. This was due to a combination of various factors, such as me having to go out and my brother being stubborn and saying, "I want to play video games in my room." I only had 2 more days to stay at my parents' house for the New Year's holiday, and even if I couldn't dub all of the videos I had sent to my parents' house, I had to get as many as I could done. So that day I started dubbing when my brother went out to play pachinko in the morning. I kept changing the tape every time I finished dubbing a video, and I kept doing that for half a day. Around 6 p.m. I was eating dinner in the living room when my younger brother came home. He was about to head to his room on the 2nd floor, boasting that he had made a huge profit at pachinko. But I warned him, "I'm dubbing, so don't mess with the deck or anything." Soon after I resumed eating, I suddenly heard a scream from the 2nd floor. Then, my brother came running down the stairs in a panic. "What's that? There's something strange on the TV." I interrupted my meal and went upstairs with my younger brother. I turned off the light when I went down to the living room to eat dinner, so my younger brother's room was pitch black. In the darkness, only the CRT of the TV he was dubbing on was emitting a dim light. I almost fainted when I saw the image on the screen. In the rough picture quality, with noise here and there, the face of a woman with her eyes wide open, her mouth wide open, and her head tilted to the side was projected across the screen. At that moment, I remembered the day when the recording failed. I'd completely forgotten about it because there were no problems with the recordings from the next day onwards. But this is the videotape from that time. After watching the video in silence for a while with my brother, I suddenly came to my senses. While pretending to be calm, I said something like, "Huh? Something's gone wrong with the dubbing," and picked up the remote control for the VCR and pressed the stop button. There was no reaction. No matter how many times I pressed the button, the video did not stop. The counter on the deck was showing signs that were neither numbers nor letters and were disappearing. The DV remote control was also unresponsive. Not only that, it did not respond to any operations such as changing channels or pressing the power button. I pulled out the cord that was plugged into the outlet, along with the octopus plug. At the same time as a bang sound, the power went out for all the AV equipment in the room. The room, which was lit only by the light of the CRT, suddenly became pitch black, and I hurriedly turned on the lights in the room. My brother was completely upset. My heart was pounding too, but I pretended to be calm and said, "Let's eat for now," and returned to the living room. After that, it was a difficult situation. When I tried to remove the video from the deck, the tape was tangled in the head and would not come out at all. I pulled it out forcefully, but it was a struggle to remove the tape that was spat out from the deck. After somehow completing the work with a screwdriver and other things, I put all the tapes together in the trash. After that, I checked the DVD. The dubbing process must have been interrupted halfway through, but I was curious about the contents. Then, I was shocked again. The thumbnail image on the chapter screen was the face of the woman with the head tilted, which had been shown earlier. Moreover, all the images displayed in the dozens of parts were filmed with the same woman's face. I immediately pressed the eject button on the DVD deck. Unlike the video, it came out smoothly, and I snapped it in half with all my strength using both of my hands. I put it in a paper bag along with the videotape I'd thrown in the trash earlier. I folded it up small and wrapped around it with duct tape. I handed it to my mother in the kitchen saying, "Throw this away." Since then, my enthusiasm for the program that I was so addicted to has completely cooled, and I no longer record it, let alone watch it. After that, I moved again. So now I live in an area where I can't receive the station that broadcasts that program. It's also broadcast late at night on the internet or something here. So I get startled every time I casually switch channels and it matches. Hello watchers and listeners, thank you all so much for listening. If you have a story you'd like to share with the channel, please send it to my email, which will be found in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, consider signing up for my Patreon, which you can watch my videos ad-free and usually with bonus stories, as well as other perks depending on the level. This year, I will be redesigning my merch store, so keep an eye out for that one. And as always, the biggest thank you is to all of you I truly appreciate all of your support over the last couple of years. And remember,
Papa loves you.